Hello everyone. So in this session, let us see what will be the accounting treatment for donations that are received by non-profit organization. Now, donations, when we say donations, donations can be received for meeting capital expenditure or revenue expenditure. Now, when we say capital expenditure, it can also mean that they are received for specific purposes. Now, if the donations are received for specific purposes, then they will be accounted in that proper fund. That is on the liability side of the balance sheet. Now, if they are for general purpose but capital in nature, then it will be accounted in the capital fund or accumulated fund. Now, if the donations are received for revenue expenditure, for meeting revenue expenditure, then it is accounted in the income and expenditure account. So, we need to find out what is the purpose of donation, and accordingly we need to account for the donation that is received. So, if it is for the specific purpose, then in that specific fund account, and if it is for the general purpose but capital expenditure, then in the capital fund or accumulated fund account. Sometimes it will be received for meeting your revenue expenditure, then in that case income and expenditure account. Now this is very general, but for each and every organization the nature of the donation differs. So for each and every organization we need to evaluate what are the reasons for the donations, what is the purpose for which it is received, and the nature of that particular expenditure, and accordingly we need to decide whether to account it in your capital expenditure, that is capital fund or accumulated fund, or revenue expenditure. Now see, when we have these donations in a specific fund account, what we do is this amount which is there in the specific fund account is invested. So the term fund is used when the amounts are collected for the specific purpose and they are invested separately. So now this fund will appear in your balance sheet liability side, and what will happen is the same amount is invested somewhere. So whatever is the amount invested will appear on the balance sheet asset side, saying that this is a fund investment. Say for example, this is a scholarship fund. Then if this is a scholarship fund, it will appear that all the donations that are received for the scholarship fund will appear on the balance sheet liability side, and this amount will be invested. So on the asset side there will be a specific asset saying scholarship fund investment, and the amount that is invested will reflect on the balance sheet asset side. So when the term fund is used, so all the amounts collected for that specific purpose and invested separately, that time we use this term fund. Now all the expenses and income, that for example the income that is received from this asset, that is investments, and say there are some expenses which were carried during the year for meeting this purpose of this specific fund, then all those expenses and all the income that are specific for this particular fund are accounted in that particular fund. This is known as a fund accounting. That is, all the expenses pertaining to that particular fund are accounted in that fund account instead of income and expenditure account. This is known as a fund accounting. So all those expenses and income will not be considered in the income and expenditure account, since they are specifically for that purpose of that fund, or that income is also received from that particular fund investment. So all this will be accounted in this fund account instead of income and expenditure account. And this is known as a fund accounting. Now, say if there is some donation that is received for a specific purpose and the same is not invested, then we don't use the term fund, we use the term account instead of fund. Okay, say if we have received some donation for the scholarship and we are not invested it, then we will say scholarship account. And if we are investing it, then we will say scholarship fund, and then same we will be invested, so we will say scholarship fund asset or scholarship fund investment in the balance sheet asset side. If it is not invested, then we use the term account. Now there might be certain donations that are received in kind and not in cash. In that case, the whatever is the value of the asset must be credited to the fund account, and if it is in kind, that is it in an asset, then it will be recognized in the balance sheet at that value.